Welcome back to These Things Are Written on this Monday. So glad that you're joining us as we look at the book of Proverbs. We're going to work together through the first 9 chapters that really form together as a whole. They are more cohesive than the rest of the book. The rest of the book often is just full of a couple line proverbs that are put together that in general tell us how we are to live and results of not living in that way. These first 9 chapters really show the difference between wisdom and folly as they tell a story and go a little bit more in depth. They help us to understand the rest of the Proverbs, especially this first chapter. Let's start with verse 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. This simply tells us who the author of the book is. It's a pretty easy one. We know who Solomon is, the son of David. He is also the king of Israel. The king of Israel tends to reflect not on David, although David was, but also Solomon. Solomon is the son of David. Solomon is the king of Israel, a reminder of his wisdom that he had, that God gave him. Remember that when he was a young man, God spoke to him in a vision and told him to ask for one thing, what he would like. And he said that he wanted wisdom. And because he asked for that, God gave him other things as well. We're going to see some of the wisdom of Solomon in these 9 chapters. Let's continue with verses 2 through 6. To know the wisdom and instruction, to understand words of insight, to receive instruction in wise dealing, in righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. Let the wise hear and increase in learning. The one who understands obtain guidance. To understand a proverb and a saying, the words of the wise and their riddle. Again, it shows the purpose of this book to receive wisdom, instruction, and understanding. Proverbs shows how to live, common sense, yet more than that. They are not to be understood as in the idea of do this and you will be blessed, but really kind of rules of thumb. And as we look at these passages, we're also going to see other ways that God works through them to help us to know and to see, in a way, his son. We'll see that more in a couple in the next couple days as well. But again, these are to show wisdom to the foolish, to the young, to the wise, that they may gain in their understanding. And then he shows the beginning of this in verse 7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. A great verse to start, because this is a proverb, but yet it is a universal truth from God's word. Kind of breaking the rules that I said about the Proverbs being necessarily universal truths. This one is. You see, our knowledge, our wisdom and instruction begins in the Lord, in our fear, in our trust, in our respect in the Lord, in, you could say, the belief, our belief of the Lord. Our trust in him is where knowledge truly begins. We find it in him, not in all the things of the world, although God uses these things of the world to help us find wisdom and knowledge. But notice what it says. Here he shows the contrast between where knowledge is in the Lord and what happens to those who don't seek that knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. So we hear about wisdom. We also hear of fools in this first part. And the Apostle Paul is going to hit on them even more in the days to come. This is just an introduction, but it's a reminder to us that our wisdom is not found in simply the words of this book, but in the fear, the trust that we have in the Lord as he reveals them to us. May God open our hearts by his Spirit to help us to learn and to understand, to fear the Lord, and to gain his understanding and wisdom. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.